Good. Assalamu alaikum. Good. Thanks for having us in your wonderful country. I think that's the first. We're looking forward to a very difficult match against a very experienced side, a side that participates regularly in this space with very experienced players, a side that is technically very proficient with very good players, particularly up front in the front line. But we are well prepared. We are strong. We've got a very good team ourselves. We know that it's not going to be easy, but nothing is ever easy in the Champions League. And particularly also when you are in the group stages, there are no easy games. There are no weaker teams. And we face a very good opposition. So hopefully we have a very good match, a football match on the pitch tomorrow.
Dennis, tell us how you and your teammates are preparing for the game.
First of all, good afternoon. I think we're looking forward to the encounter. Of course, it's their home game, but away from home. So for us, it's all about executing and trying to get maximum points as much as we can. It's not going to be an easy game, as the coach said, because they're a very experienced team. But what's important is for us to try and get good results, because we're going to be here for a very long time. So the best results for us are the ones that will take us to the next game, which is Al-Merrikh. So it's very, very important for the players to stay focused and try and win the game with a lot of precaution, because, as the coach said, it's a very experienced team, very big guys, but we also have the capacity to win the game.
Thank you, Dennis. Just before taking the questions, let me remind you that we are live. CAF is live on Zoom now, and we have our colleagues from South Africa available with us, so they might join us. But we will first take the questions from here, from the press conference, and then we will move to take questions from Zoom. Okay, Amr?
Yes, Al-Merrikh from Bean Sports. A question from the coach is about the injury of Gaston Sirino. How are you going to deal with it and with his absence? How are you going to make things up in his absence? And a question also for Onyango. You have been present when Mamelodi Sundowns lost won the Champions League in 2016 here in Egypt. What is the difference between the two sides, the winning side that you were part of like 6 years ago and the current squad?
Coach?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I think we are a little bit unfortunate, particularly with regards to injuries. But that's the name of the game. We did not only lose Gaston, but we unfortunately also lost Pablo Safranco to an injury in our previous match. We lost Gift Mutupa just prior to playing against Barroca. So offensively, we are without some very, very good players and some very important players, and not just Gaston. The unfortunate situation with Gaston is in a moment when he was training very well and he showed a huge appetite and desire to assist the team. And as he was building his confidence and being integrated back into the team, the timing of the injury was a bit unfortunate. But that's the name of the game, as I said earlier, and what it does then do, it presents an opportunity to players that are within the team to be able to fill the void that a player like Gaston leaves you without, So we're aware that he's a very, very good player, an important player, and a profile that you guys here are very fond of. But the reality is that at Mamelodi Sundowns, we've got a very, very, very good squad with very good players, and then the opportunity is presented to others to stake a claim and also make strong contributions towards the objectives that we've set for ourselves.
Okay, Onyango.
Of course, I'm one of the last few that won the Champions League right here in Egypt. But it's a very, very strong competition that needs a team that has been together for a very long time. And I think the 2016 team was together for a very long time with a lot of experienced players. And we struggled a little bit because we lost a few of them. The team had to change because in football you need to change a few players. Some go, some come. But I think the most important thing is for us to try and gel and try and know the most important thing for us to win the Champions League because it's our target. But of course, we've struggled here and there. We've come short like last year against the champions. A few mistakes here and there, but I think we learn from those things, and I believe that we'll take these lessons to the next chapter, which is this year. But with the new team that we have, a lot of good quality players and with a good fight, we believe that we can go all the way. But it's always difficult to play the Champions League without experienced players who know the type of football that is played in the Champions League. But with a few guys that have stayed around in the previous years, I think they will help us and help the team to go as far as we can.
Thank you, Onyango. Now we will take questions from the online. Look, Coach, how many questions you have from South Africa? Okay, Mark.
Thanks. I'm glad that CAF have appointed the best media officer for such a big match.
Thank you, dear.
Coach, can I ask you, given the good fortune of maybe not playing this game in Khartoum and having the neutral venue, do you feel almost obliged to win it?
No, we've got no right, Mark, to enter regardless of where the match is going to be played. I think the reality is, first you are guided by your objectives, and your objectives are to make sure that you come out of the group stages. That's our immediate focus, regardless of the number of games that we have to play and where we have to play those games. The reality is there's 6 matches to be played, and 6 matches you need a certain number of points to guarantee qualifications into the knockout. That is our immediate focus. And then we have to make a decision as to, do we try to map up our way through the knockouts as a runners-up or finish on top of the group. But the first immediate focus is to qualify, and we've done very, very well within that regard by winning the whole match against Al-Hilal, which has put us 3 points closer to the target that we've set for ourselves numerically to see ourselves through the group. But it's not always easy, and particularly, as I said earlier, when you come into this phase of the competition where the space for mistakes, the margin for error is so minute, and really the responsibility comes into the experienced players like Dennis, like Tembazwane, Kennedy, to be able to assist the team to get through the terrain. So we're confident, but we are also approaching it with a lot of humility, and that means we have no God-given right to expect a win. We've got to go out there and we've got to fight for it. We've got to work hard for it. And we've got to make sure that we give a very, very good performance, because in the Champions League, unlike in the domestic league, where you can, over 30 matches, you can win the league title by not performing well in certain games and winning certain games by riding your luck a little bit. I'm very clear that in the Champions League, you've got to be on top of your game for all 6 matches in the group stages, and you've got to be at your best to make sure that you give yourself an opportunity to win it, and nothing but your best with the right sort of mental preparation can assist you in terms of getting the desired results.
Thank you, Coach. Saleh Balo, I think. Please mention if your question is for the coach or the player.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Inas, and good afternoon to all my colleagues. Good afternoon to the coach as well. This is to Coach Rulani Mokwena. Coach, I think there's been a couple of reports over the last couple of days that the opposition will be bringing in some 5,000 supporters for free. Will that contribute to the opposition? And secondly, Coach, is that also a conversation that you might be having, with the club or the PSL that at least allow you guys to have supporters at your home games in South Africa? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Karabo. Look, I don't know. The challenge we have is that logistically, you're getting into a space that also needs some form of government intervention with regards to COVID regulations. So it becomes very, very difficult to enter that space. However, I think Sundowns' management and the people around with regards to dealing directly with CAF through SAFA, other people that will put those sort of recommendations and do whatever is best for football in our country. And of course, as I said, we've got a different environment, therefore we've got different regulations and we've got a different way of dealing with the pandemic in our country, and rightfully so. So we will wait for the people in charge who I'm sure will make the right decisions based on the safety of everybody concerned. But for us is just to focus on what happens on the pitch. Our focus is on this match. As I said, a very, very difficult opposition with very experienced players. A team that is got a very clear structure within its 4-3-3. They've got very, very good players. As I said, in the front line, you've got a player like Hamid in the number 10 who can play on the right wing, who can play as a number 8 inside, and then he gives you a lot more possibilities with his left foot to engage the goal. You've got a Guzuli there up front. You've got Tony up front, who are dynamic, aggressive, and they enter your box very, very quickly. Bakri, the number 4, is got experience, technically very sound, got very good relationship with the ball, strong aerially, and very good physicality. A strong midfield with Hashim, also the number 24, who plays as an 8. And a 3-man midfield with Hamid, maybe possibly Hashim, maybe possibly, and Diab, the number 19, very strong, very aggressive individuals with lots of physicality in the combats, but also technically very sound with very good ball usage. And then, of course, with very aggressive, very, very aggressive fullbacks, particularly the number 23, who's their left back, Adam. And then the 2 centre backs, Amir and Nimir, are very, 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 very aggressive aerially, very aggressive in one-on-one duels. Very important for them in the build-up of the attacks, particularly under the new coach. So a strong team, a good team, and then you would understand why we cannot even start focusing on other aspects except the technical aspects in relation to where they are and how they play, because they've already been giving us a lot of sleepless nights in relation to analyzing them and trying to get as much information, because the Sudanese league, as you all know, there's some political unrest in the country, and therefore they've had to pause that and getting access to footage or getting people to go there already presented enough of a challenge. But our people have worked very, very hard. Gulam, Mario, Dale, and Sbu have worked very, very hard from an analysis perspective to try to get us as much footage and we can get as much intel about them. And watching their games against Express in the qualifiers, watching their games against Zanaco, watching their games against Al Hilal, their 2 most recent games against Al Hilal, has helped us to prepare. So we feel prepared and we feel happy with the work that we've done, and therefore now it's about execution and trusting our players to do the business on the pitch.
Okay, we have Mahaletsi.
Good afternoon to the top table and to colleagues. My question is for Coach Rulani. Coach, I was checking your numbers here, and it turns out that Peter Shalile has only scored 1 goal in your last 6 matches in all competitions. I know it doesn't necessarily represent a crisis, but from a technical perspective, is it a small headache that maybe he has lost some sort of a scoring touch of late?
Thanks, Mashatsi. Look, I do think that if there is a player that is worthy of some form of slack when there are no goals, because of course at the end the confidence, the role that he has is the number one thing is to score goals. But the reality is, in the absence of the goals, what is far more important is the overall contribution that Peter has to the team, and not just Peter, but all our front line and our players in offensive positions know that part to how we play and our tactical culture is that there's a bigger contribution than just putting the ball in the back of the net. Of course, as I said, it's important for him and it's important for Gift, and just as important for Shishi, for Ralani, for Kutumela, for Pavol. Their job is to assist the team to win football matches, and by assisting the team to win football matches, that means that they've got to assist us by scoring goals. But the reality is, if you look at where we are in those 6 games, the number of clean sheets, and everybody speaks about the goalkeepers on the defensive line, but even in those 6 games, there's games where Kennedy has played, there's games where Dennis has played, there's games where we've had to change the centre-back pairing, and now we've got Brian playing with Rush, but we've had Musa, we've had Grant, but the status quo has remained the same. The one common denominator in all those 6 games has been the influence of our front line in trying to assist us to defend from the top, and trying to assist us to ensure that we win balls in and around the box. A classic example is the goal we scored against Halilal, where Pavol put pressure from what we call the negative press on the midfielder. We won the ball, and Tembazwana went on to go score. We believe strongly in the style of our play and in some of the schemes that we adopt, and part to our defensive schemes is the contribution of players like Peter Shalulile. So as much as he hasn't scored, and I'm sure he understands, he relishes the opportunities to score and to continue on that streak. But for what Peter has done, not just this season, but last season, to finish in the space of top goal scorer last season, to be consistent again and finish in the space of top goal scorer again this season. If there is a player that probably you can forgive for going a couple of games without hitting the back of the net, I'm sure it's Peter Shalulile. I think he's bought that right.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. Pendelo, I think.
Thank you. Coach Mpindulus Tole in Johannesburg. Coach, you are going to be playing 2 games in Egypt starting from tomorrow, and you're going to Al-Ahly on the 25th. So over the years, you Sundowns have struggled to get maximum points away from home, especially in Egypt. Therefore, you've been able to dominate games in your home soil. By when you go to Egypt, that's where you haven't came back with the victory. So as a perfectionist that you are, and I know there's still 180 minutes to be played, but looking at the preparations and the quality of the squad that you have, how confident are you that you might possibly come back with 6 points and break the cycle of losing games in Egypt? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. But Dennis was speaking a little bit earlier about the profile of the team having changed because of the change in personnel. But the change in personnel also is in relation to the change in technical leadership. With myself, Coach Manoa, Coach Steve, Coach Wendell. And of course, maybe with the previous regime, under the previous leadership, that probably was something that we would speak about and we would be aware of. But the reality is, this team that is here is probably a better team than the team that beat a very strong TP Mazembe away from home last season, a very strong Veluzdad team away from home last season. And I say it's an improved team because not just because of the acquisition, because I strongly believe that the players we brought in since last season's campaign have made us a lot stronger than we were last season. But also the events and the experiences that we've gone through as a team, the good moments, the bad moments. We are now a team that has won a league title together. We are now a team that has won the MTN8 trophy together. We are now a team that almost had a perfect Champions League season last season. And I say almost perfect because the only time we were wobbly was when it really matters in the quarterfinals against Al-Ahly. But the reality is we are stronger than we were last season, and already last season we had manufactured and we were able to produce very important results away from home. So we have to keep going and keep believing in ourselves and keep knowing that we have a strong team and we have a team that's capable of winning away matches in the Champions League. And I think the results that we were able to conjure up last season are a testimony to it.
Okay, this is the last question, please, because the team has to go for training. I think Subri, I'm sorry if I can't see properly, but go ahead. This is our last question.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody, colleagues, and the members up there in terms of the panel. Coach Rulani, I enjoy your talks all the time. I enjoy the fact that you give us numbers. That's something that I really appreciate. But having watched Sundowns, I've got one for you, I've got one for Dennis. Having watched Sundowns the last game, you know, the goal that was scored against you, I think the players switched off a little bit. So I don't know whether it's complacency or what. So I just wonder, you guys, as a technical staff, did you speak to the boys as far as that is concerned? Because heading towards this, it might be dangerous if they switch off a bit. That's one for you. Dennis, you are regarded as one of the best coaches in Africa, one of the best coaches, one of the best goalkeepers in Africa. And I just wonder, you are going to play this tournament. Do you want to go and prove that point that you qualify to be in that class of the best goalkeepers in Africa? Thank you.
I was starting to get I thought that maybe my job's on the line.
No, don't worry about that. You're a good guy. You're a good guy. Thank you.
I didn't get answered.
Because I'm old. Well, thank you very much. For me, I think it's not about proving the point to anyone. It's all about helping the team to achieve its target, and the goal is obviously to try and win the Champions League for the second time. And I can't do it alone. As much as I have all these names that they call me, I can never play alone. And I can only help the team to achieve its target. And that we're trying to do with the players and the technical team, and of course with the bigger vision of the club. But all these things come to me because the team performs, and if the team doesn't perform, I can't be who you guys call me. So it's very, very important for me to put the team first rather than Dennis first. So we try and win the game and try and get to the next stage and try and win the Champions League because it's very, very important for us.
Yeah, before I answer your question, I think Dennis's humility and modesty and doesn't allow him to accept, but it is a reality, and you can hear how he goes around, and the title of being one of the best on the continent, and I think rightfully so, Dennis. You deserve your flowers, you know, for the work that you've done, for sure. It is not the names that they give you. It is the title of being one of the best, and it is rightfully deserved. It's placed in the right hands. we've had this discussion. So it's a pity because I would love to rep Dennis and some, what do you call it, this bubble rep, and continue to try and preserve him, because a player like Dennis is a generational talent. We're going to take a very long time to be able to get a goalkeeper of his standard. But having said that, the question we were asked was in relation to the goal we conceded. I think I don't like too much to dwell on trying to mix the two campaigns. I think the domestic league in itself presents its own challenges, because the scope is a lot different to play every single game, knowing that you've got a 17 points, 18 points advantage, but still having to maintain a very good competitive level is completely different to coming into group stages of Champions League from a mental perspective. And therefore, it is very, very difficult to speak about the domestic mistakes, performances in the same sort of sentences. I think the goal that we conceded against Baroka can probably only speak about the set piece itself, because in the Champions League, part two, the importance of some of the teams who have a very clear physiological and physical advantage is a clear understanding that you've got to defend set pieces a lot better than you did the set piece against Morocco, but also in that set piece there was far too much that occurred in relation not just to the decision that was made for that set piece, but also the having equal number of players on the pitch to be able to defend the set piece and then improve our organizational form in dealing with the set piece, not just the first ball, but also the second ball. And having the right players. Unfortunately, AJ was one of the players that needed to be on the pitch and had the responsibility of dealing with the second ball. And unfortunately, in that moment, we couldn't have him there. But of course, when you concede a set piece, you concede a set piece through either poor organization or just lack of aggression in and around that area. And it was disappointing for us to concede that. And the players know about it, because we analyze all our games. We check all our mistakes. Nothing leaves and goes under the carpet in our space. But those are discussions that we have behind closed doors, where we are completely honest with each other. We try our level best to make sure that in this space we put together a united front, where the mistakes we make are not individualized, but are collective mistakes, and at times are mistakes that are born from us as the technical team, and not just the players. But when you speak about complacency, I can assure you 100%, and Dennis knows 100% that is not something that is allowed to creep in at Sundowns, for sure. No space for complacency. We've known each other for very long, and they know that there are certain things that we accept and there's certain things that we do not accept. And we are very, very clear that complacency is definitely something that you will not find while we are still in positions of leadership at Mamelodi Sundowns.